On the morning of the 5th of May, 2017, a 33-year-old woman was walking across Putney Bridge in London when something shocking happened. A jogger came up behind her and in a single moment shoved her directly into the road. She slammed onto the pavement, right into the path of an oncoming bus traveling at nearly 12 miles per hour. The driver had less than a second to react. He swerved and missed her by inches. The jogger never stopped. He didn't look back, didn't hesitate. He just kept running. But what happened next made the entire case even more disturbing. 15 minutes later, the same jogger returned, crossing the bridge in the opposite direction. The woman tried to confront him directly. He looked straight ahead, said nothing, and kept running like she didn't even exist. The entire incident was captured on the bus dash cam. 3 months later, police released the footage to the public. Tips flooded in. More than 50 potential suspects were investigated. 3 men were arrested. All of them were released without charge. None of them with a jogger. After more than a year with no answers, the investigation was officially closed in June 2018. The man who nearly killed someone in broad daylight has never been identified. Cristina Ortiza Lozano. On the night of the 21st of September 2019, CCTV cameras in Southampton captured a woman named Cristina walking through the city with another man. It looked like a normal date night. First, they stopped for ice cream. Then later, they visited a nearby pub on London Road. But what Cristina didn't know was that someone else had been following them the entire night, her ex-boyfriend. More than a year earlier, Cristina had moved from Spain to the UK with a man named Abdelaziz. The two had known each other since school. They had been together for over 12 years, lived together, built a life together. But by August of 2019, the relationship was over. Cristina had moved on. Abdelaziz hadn't. That night, CCTV cameras repeatedly captured him lurking nearby, watching from a distance, following behind them through the streets, waiting. As Cristina and her date finally returned to her apartment building on Spear Road, the cameras caught Abdelaziz following close behind. He was holding flowers in his hands. Outside the apartment, Cristina went inside while her date stayed near the entrance. But moments later, everything changed. Once inside, Abdelaziz grabbed a kitchen knife and attacked her. Investigators later said Cristina was stabbed 23 times in the neck, chest, and abdomen. Emergency services arrived quickly, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. Police later found Abdelaziz outside in the garden with stab wounds to his chest and several minor injuries. He survived. Months later, in March of 2020, he was found guilty in court and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 19 years. Grace Mullane. On the 1st of December 2018, 21-year-old Grace Mullane stood beneath a giant Christmas tree outside Auckland's Sky City complex and sent a photo to her family back home in England. Nobody knew it at the time, but that would become the last message Grace ever sent. Grace was traveling the world alone during her gap year. She was adventurous, independent, the type of person who always stayed in contact with her family. That night, she had arranged a Tinder date with a 26-year-old man named Jesse Kempson. At first, everything looked completely normal. The two visited several places around the city together: restaurants, bars, busy streets filled with people. CCTV cameras captured them laughing, drinking, and walking side by side through Auckland late into the night. Then at around 9:40 p.m., security cameras inside the City Life Hotel captured the two entering an elevator together. Grace was smiling. It was the last confirmed sighting of her alive. The next day was supposed to be Grace's 22nd birthday. Back in England, her family continued sending messages that would never be answered. But while they were desperately trying to contact her, Jesse Kempson was already covering his tracks. That morning, CCTV cameras captured him visiting multiple stores across the city. First, he bought a large suitcase, then cleaning supplies, then he rented a car. Later that same day, while Grace's body was still inside his hotel room, he went on another Tinder date. That night, cameras captured him wheeling heavy suitcases through the hotel lobby toward the rental car waiting outside. Grace was inside one of them. The following day, Kempson drove into the Waitakere Ranges west of Auckland, along a remote roadside area near Scenic Drive. He buried Grace in a shallow grave. Afterward, he cleaned the rental vehicle and attempted to erase evidence linking him to the crime, but investigators would later discover something chilling. Just hours after Grace was killed, Kempson had searched the Waitakere ranges on his phone, the exact area where her body would eventually be found. When Grace suddenly stopped responding, her family reported her missing on December 7th. Police began reviewing surveillance footage across Auckland and quickly identified Kempson as the last person seen with her. 1 day later, he was arrested at the same hotel. At first, he denied any involvement, but as evidence mounted against him, his story changed. He claimed Grace had died accidentally during consensual rough sex. During the trial, prosecutors rejected the explanation completely, telling the jury, "You cannot consent to your own murder." After just over 5 hours of deliberation, the jury found Jesse Kempson guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 17 years. Outside the courtroom, Grace's parents described their daughter as their sunshine, a young woman with her entire life ahead of her. She was only 21 years old. Oriel Gray. On the 20th of October 2020, 77-year-old Celia Ward was riding her bicycle along a shared pavement beside a ring road in Huntingdon. It seemed like a completely ordinary afternoon. Coming from the opposite direction was a 46-year-old woman named Oriel Gray. As the two passed each other, Gray suddenly shouted, "Get off the pavement." At the same moment, she gestured aggressively with her arm towards Celia. Startled, Celia lost control of the bicycle. She veered off the pavement and directly into the road. An oncoming car struck her almost instantly. 77-year-old Celia Ward was pronounced dead at the scene, but what happened afterwards shocked investigators even more. Oriel Gray never stopped. She didn't check on Celia, didn't call emergency services, didn't even turn around. Instead, she calmly continued walking to collect a prescription. Police later arrested Gray and charged her with unlawful act manslaughter. In March of 2023, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but the story didn't end there. The following year, her lawyers appealed the conviction. They argued that under English law, shouting and gesturing alone could not legally be considered assault, and incredibly, the court agreed. Her conviction was overturned. Oriel Gray was released from prison. No retrial was ordered. For Celia Ward's family, there was no closure, no real explanation for how a 77-year-old woman could lose her life over a few seconds on a pavement. In the end, Celia Ward died, and legally, nobody was responsible.